Hello. In this video, I'm going to interpret your Myers-Briggs personality type and talk about how personality, specifically this personality assessment, how personality relates to your career decision-making and your career development. But first, if you haven't already, you want to know your personality type, your Myers-Briggs personality type. It's going to give you a 4-letter type. Here is a good place to take this assessment. It's a free personality test. You can go to humanmetrics.com. This is my favorite free assessment. Keep in mind it is free and it's a lot shorter than the much more accurate version, but this should give you a good idea of what your personality type is. So you'll want to take this first, if you don't already know your type, and then write down your 4-letter type. It'll be one of these 16 here. Okay. So this personality theory, this personality assessment, the MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, was developed by a mother-daughter team in the 1940s. It's based on the personality theory of Carl Jung. He's a pretty famous theorist, counseling theorist, a psychology theorist. According to this type, our preferences or our personality is inborn and biological, so we're born with our personality. However, the environment does impact our personality. It may enhance or impede the expression of our type. This is not predictive though, okay? So just because you are one personality doesn't mean we can say you're going to act in a certain way. There are many differences within each type. We do have what we consider like our default mode. So as you were taking the assessment, you may have struggled because it doesn't really give you like a clear option for your answer. It's not like I agree or disagree. The options are such that you could say, well, you know, I act like this sometimes, or I don't act like this all the time, but there are times when I do. And you'll have that, okay? Again, this is personality. It's not really clear cut. And we do act in different ways in different settings, right? But this default mode means that we have a way of being that is more natural and comfortable for us. So when you're at home, when you're with your family or your friends, what is most natural for you? What is your most comfortable way of being? And that's what we want to think about when we're taking personality assessments like this, because that's likely your personality, is how you act when you're in default mode. It's not how you are when you're at work, because, you know, we have a certain type of way we need to act at work. It's not how you act when you're at maybe at a party or a social event, because again, we have kind of social norms on how we should act in those places. It's how you are when you're at your most comfortable. Keep in mind that this does not measure values, skills, and interests, all of which we should consider when we're thinking about careers. One way to think of personality is to do this little activity. So if you would, grab a scrap piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And what I want you to do is sign your name. Write your signature. Only do it with your opposite or your off hand. So if you're a righty, I want you to sign your name with your left hand. So do that now for me. All right, now switch hands and sign your name as you normally would. Now take a look at those two signatures. Likely the signature with your right hand or your normal hand is a lot more readable, right? It may have been easier to write this way. You may not have had to think about it as much. The signature with your offhand is probably kind of messy or sloppy looking. It probably took you longer to do. It probably felt a little awkward. You had to think about it a little bit more, right? But you were still able to do it. Okay, that's how personality is. When we're acting in ways or when we're in environments that go along with our personality, it's more natural for us. We don't have to think about it as much. it seems like a good fit, or people who have the same or similar personalities to us seem kind of like natural friends to us. Whereas if we're acting in ways that go against our personality, it may take a little bit longer. It may feel a little awkward. It may You may have to put a little bit more thought into the work, but you can still do it. So personality, especially when we're thinking about personality as it relates to career, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make a choice based on your personality. It just means that if you are considering your personality and your career choices, you want to think about the environment you work in, because if you're working in an environment that goes against your personality, it may wear you out by the end of the day. It may exhaust you a little bit more because you're having to put a little bit more effort into those actions. Okay, so that's what personality is. Again, it doesn't mean we can't act in ways that go against our type. It just means that we have that default or that natural way of being that's a little bit easier for us and more natural. So it starts with self-awareness, and that's why we take assessments like this when we're doing career counseling or career planning, because it helps you understand yourself, your strengths and talents, potential areas of growth, job satisfaction. Again, if you're working in a place that is conducive to your personality type, it can make you happier. It helps you understand others. It helps with communication and teamwork, and it also leads to less conflict, because if you understand, especially if you understand your teammates' personality types, you can understand how you work together better. So even if you have kind of conflicting types, you can still work together because you understand that it's a matter of personality and not just that other person is trying to drive you nuts. We want to try and find work that matches our personal preferences, though again, it doesn't mean we have to. It just helps to be aware. Individuals are attracted to occupations where they believe there are opportunities to express their unique type, there are rewards for doing what they like to do and what they are good at doing, and tasks and problems they will find interesting and challenging, according to your type. So again, personality are these enduring personal characteristics that are theorized to be inborn. According to this theory, our personality is structured along these four dichotomies that answer these four questions. Where do you direct your energy? How do you take in information? How do you process information? And how do you implement processed information? And I'm going to go over each of these four dichotomies. So the first is, where do you direct your energy? So we have extroverts. These types are more talkative. They tend to be energized by others. They tend to talk more than listen. The extroverts tend to be the types who put their foot in their mouth quite often because they're talking first and thinking second. These are the types who have a lot of friends, a wide variety of friends who go to a party or a social event or, like a conference and just really enjoy it, just get a lot of energy from those types of settings. Versus our introverts, these types tend to be more quiet and reserved. They tend to listen more than talk. They tend to be energized by being alone. These are the types that, so I'm an introvert and I can go all day without talking to anyone. If I'm left to my own devices, I might do some work, I might read a book, I might clean the house. It doesn't necessarily matter what I'm doing. I just am fine with that alone time, and I get energy from it. If I have a long day of teaching, especially teaching face to face, I can do it just fine, and I can act like an extrovert in those settings. I can do my presentations and teach class and facilitate discussions, but when I'm done, I am exhausted. I have to not talk to anybody. I might spend some time listening to music, or if I can, I like to go for walks or runs. That helps me kind of clear my head. So I need to have that alone time to get my energy back up. Our introverts are also our types who are more the think first, talk second type of person. Again, that doesn't mean that these two different types cannot act in the opposing way. So again, a lot of my job is acting like an extrovert, and I do it just fine. It just, again, I just need that alone time, versus my sister, who's very much an extrovert, and she's an instructional designer, so she spends a lot of her time at work by herself in her office doing work on the computer. She may interact with people, but it's typically online. And so when she's done for the day, or at work, she likes to go out and talk to people. She may enjoy meetings. She has, lots of friends, and she goes to social events, and she has to get her energy back up in those ways. So she can be introverted at work, and she's fine with that, but she still has to fulfill that need and get her energy back up in those other ways. Application to careers. Extroverts need interaction with people. They need activities outside the office, and they like a variety of tasks. They tend to do well with that. I'm thinking about when I worked in office settings, you could tell the extroverts in the office because they were the ones out in the hallway talking to people all the time. And the introverts were the ones sitting at their desks working, with the extroverts standing in the doorway, and the introverts thinking, oh my gosh, go away, I've got to get work done. Please stop talking to me. And the extrovert's thinking, come on, turn around, talk to me. I'm trying to talk to you right now. So it's typically fairly obvious who are the extroverts and who are the introverts. Introverts need some solitude. They can work just fine with people one-on-one. That's not going to take away from their energy as much as large groups will. Introverts also need quiet and private space for concentration. The one thing to consider with these two different types is that introverts may get their energy back up with through communicating with people if those people are their go-to people. So you may be able to kind of rehash the day with a significant other or a family member or a close friend. Introverts are going to be the ones who have friends for long periods of time. So an introvert, again, can act like an extrovert. It just depends on who that person is. It has to be a person that they have a really deep connection with. The next dichotomy is how you take in information. So we have sensors versus our intuitive types. So sensing people tend to focus on facts and details. They're more oriented to the present, and they value common sense and practicality. These are the ones who are going to say, but how can we make this happen? Okay, there are practical people. Then we have our intuitor types. These are our dreamers. They focus on big concepts and big picture ideas. They value ideas and imagination. They are more oriented to the future. These types see possibilities. So in a group or a team setting, you'll have your intuitive types who are the ones who are saying, well, what if we could do this? Or wouldn't it be awesome if we could do this? And again, our sensors are the ones who are bringing them back to reality, and they're saying, but how are we going to do it? Here's what we have. Here are our resources. How are we going to make this happen? And so you can see, especially in certain settings, how it's useful to have different personality types working together, right? Because you need those ideas. You need that kind of big picture way of thinking, but you also need your sensors to be practical and bring things down to the factual level, right? How are we going to make this work? In a career setting, we have sensing people who tend to be drawn to work that requires attention to details and careful observation. These are going to be our types who are good at detailed, precise work, and they like to do things with a more practical bent. Versus our intuitive people who tend to be drawn to work that provides new problems to be solved. They may dislike work that requires precision, or they may not be that great at at more detail-oriented work. They also like to do things with an innovative bent. They're going to think of new ways of doing things, but they're probably not going to be so great with the follow-through. Whereas our sensing people may be more focused on being practical and detailed and precise with their work, but they may be more slow to open up to new ideas and to change. And if you've spent any time in a group setting or even a classroom setting, you can kind of see how this plays out with different people. For example, I see this a lot, and I remember experiencing this as a student too, but I see this in the classroom. where I'm very much an intuitive type, and I really try hard to be detailed with how I set up my classrooms, especially my online classrooms, because I remember being frustrated by professors who now I know that they were just, very strong intuitive types. I remember assignments, and they would say something like write a paper, a one-page paper, and really not give a whole lot of direction. And you'd ask for more direction, and they'd say, oh, just whatever you want to write. Well, I need more than that. I remember thinking, and I see that now as a professor, where I do, maybe am a little bit more vague with some things, and some students are fine with that. They're fine with being more imaginative with their work, and others get really frustrated with that when they don't have a whole lot of direction or detail. And so you might see this play out in your own communication and relationships, where these differences in type really become clear, I think. The third dichotomy is how you process information. We have our thinkers and our feelers. Our thinkers can be blunt and direct. They enjoy debate, and they tend to look for strategic jobs, and they tend to come across as more assertive. Our thinkers are the ones who are just going to tell you like it is, right? These types are the ones who are kind of our black and white thinkers. So, it's black or white. It's right or wrong. There's no in between. I need you to just tell me the answer, and I need you to be honest with me. Versus our feelers, who tend to enjoy pleasing people more. They're going to be more focused on people than on facts. They tend to avoid conflict and confrontation. They tend to be more diplomatic. And our feelers are definitely found more often in the helping professions. Our thinkers and feelers can make the same decision, though, okay? So let's say you have a situation where you're working in a group or on a team, and especially if you're a student, if you're in school, you have those dreaded group projects, right? Where you feel like you're doing all the work and your partner isn't doing any of the work, and you're getting more and more frustrated. Well, you find out that your group member, your partner, is going through some personal problems right now. Maybe they've got an illness, or maybe they've got some problems with someone in their family. If you're a thinker, you're probably going to, I'm not going to say care about that. What I'm going to say is you're still going to think that they should carry their own weight. You're going to think something along the lines of, well, I've got problems too, and it's still not fair that I should be doing the bulk of the work. Maybe I understand that you've got stuff going on, but I still need you to pull your own weight. This is just kind of how it is. And they're going to come across very direct and blunt whenever they tell the person that. Versus our feelers, who may be frustrated with the situation and may think the same way the thinkers do. They may think, well, I've got problems too. But whenever it comes time to talk to that partner, they're going to probably get really nervous, probably be really worried about the confrontation, probably become more worried about their partner's feelings, may direct that person to resources. Well, I know you've got a lot going on. Maybe you should talk to our professor about it, or maybe you should go to the counseling center. And our feelers may be the ones who decide to just do the work and not say anything about it. Okay. However, T's and F's can make the same decision, so you can come to the same place. The reasons behind the decision may differ, though. Thinkers are going to be more focused on fairness, whereas feelers may be focused on teaching a lesson to the person. How the person deciding feels about the decision may differ. Thinkers are going to be more matter of fact. Feelers are going to be more conflicted and worried. How the decision is communicated may also differ. Thinkers are going to be more direct and to the point. Feelers are going to be more empathetic, and direct your partner to resources. Application to careers. Thinkers tend to be drawn to work that requires logical order with ideas, numbers, or objects. They can work without harmony, concentrating instead on the task. You may not need so much to have a really great working environment in terms of the people around you. Thinkers want recognition after task requirements are met or exceeded. Whereas feelers tend to be drawn to work that provides service to people. They work best in harmony with others, concentrating on the people. And so if you have problems in the workplace and you're a feeler, you're going to struggle here. You're not going to be able to concentrate. You're not going to be able to get much work done. They want appreciation throughout the process, not just at the end. Feelers are the ones who need a cheerleader. They're going to like being told that they're doing a great job. Whereas a thinker, if you hear that too much, you're going to get really irritated with it, and you're going to think to yourself or say, I need you to, I don't want to hear how great a job I'm doing. I haven't done anything yet. You can tell me I've done a good job after I've done the work. Our last dichotomy is how you implement processed information. These are our judgers versus perceivers. Judgers like to have decisions made. They like to plan and organize. They tend to work first and play second. They tend to be uncomfortable with change. Whereas our perceivers like to have options open. They tend to be more spontaneous. They prefer change. And they tend to play first and work second. I'm sure you can see this. This one tends to be pretty obvious with people. There are a lot of different, the dichotomies that are harder to judge, but I think this one seems to come across pretty clearly. Application to careers. Judging people tend to be drawn to work that has a system and an order. They enjoy organizing and finishing tasks. They may feel uneasy leaving choice of major or any career decisions open. Versus our perceivers, who tend to be drawn to work that requires change. They enjoy starting tasks and leaving them open for last-minute changes. They want flexibility. They may postpone making a decision about majors or careers. Career decisions. Judgers tend to prefer to plan early and ahead. They like to progress through career preparation in an orderly fashion. They tend to stick to decisions once they are made. They tend to be the mountain climbers of decision making. Whereas perceivers view decision as an ongoing process. They like to keep their options open. They don't want a final decision. They may wait until the last minute to make decisions, and they may be the bungee jumpers of decision making. You'll find all different types in all different careers. Some majors or careers may feel like a better fit. However, you should look at general trends rather than specific jobs, and you should also, consider your interests, your skills, and your values. The two middle letters of your type, the S versus the N and the T versus the F, have the most bearing on career choice. So if you are an ST, a sensing thinker, you're going to tend to be more practical and matter of fact. You want to get it right and be accurate. So you might fit well in a management field, something like accounting or banking, engineering, or law enforcement. If you're an SF, a sensing feeler, these are sympathetic and friendly types. They want to provide service to others, but it should be practical service. So you might find yourself in a field like healthcare, teaching, religious service, office work, or community service. Our intuitive feelers, our NFs, these are our enthusiastic and insightful types. They want to empower and make a difference. So a lot of people in the counseling and human services fields are NFs. Art and music people, writing and journalism, behavioral sciences like psychology or sociology, and education are good fits. Our NTs, intuitive thinkers, these are our logical and ingenious types. They want to understand and create global systems. So you might fit well in a field like law, physical science, computers, management, or research. Some final comments. There is no best type. Each type brings different strengths to the table. The key is in understanding yourself and others. Type does not explain all behavior. People of the same type do not act exactly the same. Type can be expressed differently from person to person.